Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Unrealist. If you wanted to learn more about staying mentally healthy as a founder or entrepreneur, today is your day. I've got a great guest. But first, our unreal stat of the day. And it's that about 3/4 of entrepreneurs self-report that they suffer from a mental health problem. I'm shocked. I want to know who the other 25% are, because this is a very lonely job. It is really tough. But regardless, it's a lot of people that deal with mental health issues. Allow me to introduce you to Jason Komosa. He is a mental health coach and sales psychologist. He's an expert in the field, and I'm happy to have him on today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. So, tell me how you got into this. I know that you were very early on at Groupon as a sales leader. I know that you helped grow that company significantly, and now you're helping to coach and help entrepreneurs. How'd you get into this? And just love to learn about your journey.
Yeah, that's a great way to kick things off. And again, thanks so much for having me on the show today. I really appreciate you and what you're building at Unreal Estate. So, I was an early Groupon guy, and I was there for about 5 years, did a lot of different sales, revenue growth projects. My last position held was to help build and scale the national sales team. And through this journey, at that time, I had told myself a story. We all tell ourselves stories. And the story I had told myself for a long time was that financial success or stability is the path to happiness. So I personally grew up with a single mom, taking care of my younger brother. So we didn't have a lot of financial stability. We were kind of always worried about money. And so for me, when I came into this position at Groupon, I was fortunate to have some financial stability. And then I kept telling myself, again, the story: if I make $100,000, then I'll be happy. If I make $150,000, then I'll be happy, right? And so this repeated itself, and I found myself very grateful, very blessed. But at the same time, there was no intrinsic happiness. I kind of felt empty because for so long I had told myself this story of how to get to happiness. And then I got there and I was like, what? I'm kind of like, now what? Like, what's going on here? I'm not, this didn't come true. The dream of my past self of having financial success and whatever. So I found myself, I was burnt out. Like, I was working way too much, ignoring a lot of the priorities that fuel me as an entrepreneur. So like exercising and relationship, a lot of that stuff I just pushed aside. Again, the story was like, I'm just going to work hard, make a lot of money at Groupon. Like, let's just do this. And all the
if that's the story in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you. If that's the story in your head, that this is the sort of golden, the gold at the end of the rainbow is simply, I just get to the financial success. It actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And I find all the founders I talk to, we talk about this a lot. Like, part of being successful, one of the key things is pushing off gratification, right? So you're making this kind of conscious decision. You're like, oh, let me push that. The gym, I'll get fit after I get to this next milestone. Yeah. Oh, my relationship, push that off. Because right now I'm trying to get this one thing. And if I get that one thing, that's the thing. And therefore, right? So I identify very closely with this. But sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, it's true. And this is pretty much human psychology. I think a lot of us just tell ourselves, when I get X, or when I'm able to achieve X, then all of a sudden I will be happy. This is the thing I need to be happy. And then oftentimes we get that thing and you're still not happy. And so, as I mentioned, I was burnt out working a lot, and long story short, I was introduced to a coach, and I was terrified because I'm thinking to myself, why am I going to spend all this money in working with a coach? What do I get out of it? What's the ROI? Right? I kept thinking to myself, what's the ROI? Going back to stories, I was never taught as a young kid to invest in yourself. I don't know about you and other listeners out there, but for me personally, I was taught, if and when you're able to have some money, you got to save some money in your bank. You put it into stocks, 401k, those types of things. I was never taught, hey, it's a good idea to invest in yourself, learning, education, all these things. And actually, looking back, I'm 38 years old now. The biggest ROI I've ever had out of any investment ever was coaching, putting my money, investing into working with a coach. and then seeing the ROI from that relationship.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So and I think a lot of people, yeah, so I've done some coaching. I've had some coaching, and it is one. And I thought it's so funny. I thought about it the same way because it's expensive. The same way you're talking about. Like you start to think about it. And you're like, do I want to spend on that? But really, you have to remember that you are investing in yourself. And I do think as a founder, most founders I know intrinsically sort of believe in that because you're always sort of continuously betting on yourself, right? Whether, in our case, we're doing real estate tech, but we also often talk to builders. We talk to home flippers. Like these are people that are like, I'm not gonna go do the corporate thing or the whatever. I'm gonna just make this gigantic bet on myself that I can go do this thing, create this thing from scratch. And so it's funny you say that. You still kind of end up in the space where you think about, do I want to spend this on on a coach? It doesn't make sense. But like, yeah, I mean, there is. I do think it's a pitch that makes sense to a lot of people.
If you could, and again, knowing that like money was one of my biggest, I was self-aware enough to know like money, the idea of money just in general is one of my biggest challenges. And so I like the logical mind was overriding the heart, right? Because the heart says, you got to do this. This is where you need to go. The logical mind says you need to put that money into a 401k. You need to, that money needs to so it's like this internal battle. And thank God, my coach, Michael, which I dearly love, he's actually now head of a very large coaching corporation, but he said to me, look, Jason, what do you want on your tombstone? Here lies Jason. He's saved more money than he spent.
Right.
And to me, that was like an aha moment where I was like, shit, like he's right. Cause again, I had this scarcity mindset. There was just so much fear about money. And so when I dove in, I wrote him the check and I was like, fuck this. Let's just go. Let's just get after it.
Yeah.
A year later, it was a year program and it was just literally life-changing. Like I can't stress that enough.
That's really cool. So I was going to ask you this later, but let's get into it. So now you're a coach. You've gone from being a sales leader to doing this full time. So
both.
Tell me.
I do coaching.
You do both.
And sales. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell me more about what exactly it is you do. Is there a framework you use? Is there kind of walk me through it?
Yeah. So essentially, when I'm involved with a relationship, whether it's a one-on-one or group coaching, small group coaching, we typically start with the first thing is self-acceptance. So many people, like they want to get better. They're looking at self-improvement and all these things. The first step is to just accept where you are right now today. Wherever you are, it's okay. And we're going to accept that. And then from there, after we have maybe one or two calls about, again, just kind of, hey, where are you at? Where do you want to go? Let's start with the end in mind. What is the end in mind? And what steps are we going to take, reverse engineering to work backwards, figuring out what's step one. Now, from there, it's like oftentimes people want to, what I call like burn the city down. We don't want to burn the city. We want to light the wick. Lighting the wick means we're going to do something stupidly small. And when I say stupid small, I mean stupid small. For example, one of my clients was trying to be in better physical shape. And she's talking about joining a gym and like personal training, all these things. I say, hey, whoa. So let's slow down here. The goal here is to do one walk around the block. Can you walk around the block once? And then the next week, can you walk around the block twice? That's the consistency we want. Every day, small, tiny wins that incremental that add up to, hey, now all of a sudden you're doing a 60-minute walk every day. Now all of a sudden you start with one burpee, one push-up. These people out here are just trying to do so, especially like I know it's February. So February 1st is typically the day where the vast majority of people that set New Year's resolutions give up is February 1st.
Sure.
So the idea is like, this isn't like a diet. We're not like, we're literally like changing your life. We're changing your habits. And we're building a masterpiece day. And that's different for everyone. What does a masterpiece day look like for you? And that goes from literally the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. what does a realistic masterpiece day look like? What are you doing? And I don't mean, oh, I'm going to go on the beach and drink a Mai Tai and, like not vacation, real life. What does a masterpiece day look like? And how do we create that in the framework that you're willing to give to your life? And so, I like the analogy of block scheduling. Might be jumping the gun,
sure.
but block scheduling, like high school, when you have a full day of high school, and when it's 11:30, you're in physics, and you're not in gym class, and you're not eating lunch. You're in physics, learning about physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to adapt that scheduling to our lives where it's autopilot. We don't need to devote precious, beautiful, resourceful energy towards figuring out, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do now? If you can build a schedule, where like I could tell you, hey, I'll tell you 4:00 on Tuesday. What am I doing? I know because I have this schedule is written for me. It's on autopilot.
Yeah, I've employed this, and I found that it is helpful. I found the hard part is staying disciplined with it and keeping it consistent. But certainly, I found that it works. One question I had for you, I know that you've worked with some of the greats, right? Great entrepreneurs, and continue to. What are some of the common? I guess a twofold question. Let's start with the positive. What's the trait or the thing that you see them doing? Because I know that most of these people are falling into that 75% they're dealing with a difficulty, with a mental health challenge, right? But they're still pushing through that somehow and having lots of success. So what's a commonality you see that's a positive? And then on the other side, what's a thing that you often see them having to work on that's common?
Excellent question. So a common theme on the positive side is true conviction and belief. And their beliefs and their visions are not small. They have these grand, huge visions of how they're going to change the world. I think investors like to see that. I think employees like to see that. The idea is like, hey, we're building something that is meaningful. We're on this mission, and it's going to change the world. That's a common thing that I see across all entrepreneurs. Even you, I'm assuming you're like, look, you're not trying to build something that's just like a mediocre business. You're trying to build something that, hey, this is really going to impact people's lives. Hundreds of thousands, millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people's lives. So the conviction.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's funny you say that because when I mentioned earlier at the top of this show that it's a very lonely position, right? So you have this idea in your head and this vision, and you're telling people about it, trying to get people to buy in, whether it's your team, your investors, sometimes it's your family, right? I left in a job in investment banking where I was making like real money, and I had to say, no, I want to like go do this thing where I make no money for the first, right? You know what I mean? And everybody's looking at you like, dude, are you nuts? Like, what are you doing? Like you've done the thing. Like you worked hard, you went to business school, you got the job, and now you're going to leave that to try what? Like you think you're going to be like, and so then they start really kind of almost like not judging, but kind of just being like, yeah, like you're okay at the one thing. It doesn't mean you're going to be great at this creativity thing, right? And so you really, it's a lonely position, but you have to have conviction. You really have to believe. And it can't be halfway, like, because those days get hard sometimes. You're like, it could be easy to be like, you know what, dude, I'll just go back to getting a nice salary and a bonus.
Yeah.
No. You have to be in like 150, 2000%, right? There's no pulling. So that part that part I get. Okay. So you covered that part. What's the challenge, the thing that you keep seeing that we get stuck with?
Yeah. Challenge is, again, going back to stories. If oftentimes entrepreneurs will tell themselves a story, and that is the only story. There's a super tunnel vision where this is it, and this is that, and that's the end of it, period. There's no other options. And it's my job to help expand that vision and potentially change the lens on the camera that is our brains, is our hearts, right? Change the lens, because there are a lot of different options or a lot of different things out here. And you might only be thinking, again, this one clear path, where I'm trying to provide a potentially contrarian belief or story or fact, right? So it's about, it's like personal training for your mind and your soul. You're getting stronger through the pain and discomfort of getting out of your comfort zone, right? Doing things this is not comfortable. Well, yeah, it's not comfortable. It's not supposed to be comfortable.
Yeah, I remember speaking with my coach about this at one point, and she said to me, it's sort of like going to the gym. When you're making those gains, it's not like you're kind of just like walking on the treadmill no, it kind of hurts. And you sort of get to that point where it hurts so much, you're like, am I injuring myself? Or am I just uncomfortable at this point? And when you work out enough and you're really pushing it, you start to realize, oh, that's just, I'm uncomfortable. And that's where the gains come from. Is like, you're not going to make it anywhere if you just kind of like, loaf your way around the gym, right? And this is the same thing for mental health. You've got to kind of expand and push yourself. So that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, you're using that gym analogy. If I go into the gym, right, and I'm curling 5-pound dumbbells and I'm not getting results, it's like, well, yeah, you're not getting results because you're not challenging yourself and you're not in you're in your comfort zone. When you get out of that comfort zone, that's what's going to fuel the growth that you're looking for. And then when you get to and it's also like a video game, right? Level 1, you start, it's like, okay, well, this is, okay, I got it. And then level 2, a little bit harder. Level 3, you want it to be harder. You want level 6 to be harder than level 2. Why? Because if level 6 is easier than level 2, you as the player are like, what's going on here? This game sucks.
You're right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's like life. That's life, man. Life is, our levels are going to continue to get harder and harder and harder. But the training that we've had through the last levels, right? We defeated level 2. We go to level 3, we're ready for that level. How do we know that? Because that's the challenge that we're currently facing. And everything else in our past has literally prepared us, has trained us for whatever challenge that we have right now today.
I love it. Thank you for your thoughts on that. All right, so we've covered what you do. We've covered some of the commonalities between these founders, both the positive and the sort of challenging side. I'm wondering, are there any trends you're seeing with respect to entrepreneurs and coaching and mental health? I mean, to me, I feel like in the last even 5 years, especially maybe with the pandemic, people are talking about it more. It's becoming more acceptable. I mean, the reason that, frankly, I was able to get a coach was that I had an investor who had a partnership with a coaching company and was like, as part of our investment, we give you this, right? And I hadn't really thought about it, but I was like, oh wow, like the fact that like investors were thinking, no, we know how hard this job is. We want our founders to be, sort of optimizing around this. So that's one trend I've noticed. I'm wondering if there are others that you've seen.
You're 100% on point. The mental health talk is continuing to grow, which is great. I don't think we're anywhere near where society needs to be in terms of treating mental health and not just treating it, like proactive education, right? So it's like one thing to get help and to go find someone, like if you're already burnt out, if you feel depressed, if you feel anxious. But it's another thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna proactively engage and invest into these things so that we're not only preventing those shitty feelings we don't want, we're also optimizing ourselves for the highest chance of success. And going back to what you talked about, investors, in my opinion, it's insane that there's not mental health included with all. And like, if I'm an investor, why would I not want to have my founders, like their mental health? It has to be optimized, because if not, my money's at risk. Like selfishly, right? Like even if they say like we don't care about the entrepreneur, which they should, and hopefully they do, their money's at risk. So if you have a mentally unstable or it's like you want to make sure that happens. And actually, a shout out to Listen Ventures. Listen Ventures is, I believe, one of the only firms in Chicago that offers coaching to all of their funded companies. They will offer coaching as a part. Yeah. So I hope that's the norm. And I also hope within the next decade, we make mental health equal to health insurance, right? Like I know that some health insurance covers some mental health treatments, some don't. So if we can make
Yeah,
this like just as common as what's your health insurance like, employees
sure.
expect health insurance. What about mental health? And the other thing is, going back to like the physical versus mental health. If you have a broken leg, right? People see that, oh, they're compassionate. They can see there's going to be time to heal. It's going to take 6 months. You're in a cast and then you're in a physical therapy. All these things. Okay. So if we could use the broken leg and literally copy and paste that for mental health, what does that look like? A 6-month recovery of maybe there's a traumatic experience. Maybe you lost a child or for us to make it, to normalize it, to say, look, just because you can't physically see the injury doesn't mean it's not there.
That's the thing. It's not as obvious. And so it's funny. I didn't know that about Listen. I've met those folks before, and they're really sharp. Shout out to Morgan Stanley. They're our investor that push for
Beautiful.
coaching. And that I have so many I think venture stories. And one of the ones I often joke about is that the Morgan Stanley investment team is like the sharpest, like as you can imagine, right? It's like this global investment bank. But they had these weekly meetings with us where they would just like bust our hump all up and down they're really tough meetings. But I would counter that with but they are also the only one that was like, okay, we're going to, get you in tip top shape, right? To be the best founder you can be. We're also going to give you some coaching because this is so hard psychologically. We want you to be, all right in your head as well. So,
man,
that's funny. Okay, so one more question for you before we wrap up. I'm curious. The thing you just said about insurance, made me think of this. Where does the line kind of stop for traditional psychotherapy, and then begin for coaching for a founder? Because I've done both. I've been to therapy. Yeah. It's been great for me, and that's the same thing. It's like working out, right? It's not fun. It's hard, and it's like you're doing work, right? You get homework when you come out of it, right? And I'm just curious, where does that line draw from? Because you might be doing both, right? You might be getting therapy from a psychologist, and then also getting coaching.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is a subjective, depending upon who you are and who you're working with. From my experience, when people ask, well, what's the difference between what you do and therapy? There isn't a therapeutic aspect to my coaching. However, in my experience, therapy oftentimes will talk about a lot about your past, digging into the past, and there's not a lot of actionable or executable initiatives. Just based on a broad definition here, therapy focuses a lot on your past and kind of how your childhood how your childhood kind of sculpted you to where you are today. We can discuss that with my coaching. However, what I want to do is say, okay, look, wherever you are today, self-acceptance, you're here today. Where do you want to go? Where are we going to go on this journey? And what is the end? Start with the end in mind. What is the end goal? And how can we break it down into micro steps so that you are just starting today? Stupid small. If you want to write a book, can you buy a notebook and a pen and write one word on a page? You started writing the book.
Yep. Yeah, this is something my therapist called tiny habits. You start one thing, it builds upon another thing, and then all of a sudden,
there's a book.
Got it.
It's a book. She's referencing a book, Tiny Habits, and it's true. It's like we want to boil the ocean, right? You have to just start small and start somewhere. And another quick, one of the things my coach taught me, it's okay to suck. It's not okay to skip. So using the gym, right? You don't feel like working out. I don't feel like working out. If you go into the gym and you get dressed and you do 10 laps, that's better than nothing. It's better than skipping and saying, fuck this. I'm too tired. I'm going to go home and lay on the couch. Anything is better than nothing.
This is almost, and I can't remember which skill this is in the psychology world, but this is 100% right. Because what ends up happening is, it's first of all, it's way easier to skip anything, right? I just won't go. And then that's done. When you force yourself to go, what often happens is you get into some sort of flow state where you say, even if you say, you know what, I'm just going to do half of the sets and half of the reps when I go to the gym today. What ends up really happening is once you get dressed, you put in the headphones, you get going, it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. And you end up doing the whole thing or maybe more, right? Because you just got into the motion of being there and you kind of lock in. It's way easier to just be like, I'm just going to not go. And then nothing happens, right? The exact opposite. So I think you have it right on.
Here's one of the like taglines or lessons that I like to teach some of the folks I work with. It's called fuck your feelings. And basically what that means is if we let our feelings dictate our decisions, especially when it comes to things that we know are good for ourselves, we're not going to be in a good situation. So I don't feel like going to the gym. Well, too fucking bad. I don't feel like eating, I don't feel like eating healthy. I feel like eating a triple cheeseburger and fries instead of a salad. Well, too bad. I don't feel like going to bed early. Who's in control here? Because there's only two options. It's your feelings or you. So if it's not you, guess what? It's your feelings. And I don't mean fuck your feelings like when it comes to like a relationship or, I'm talking about interpersonal relationship with yourself and the stories and the feelings that oftentimes guide what we do with our lives. Like you said, I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm just going to skip it. Well, who's in control? You or your feelings?
Right. Thank you for that. All right. So we're going to do a quick recap. It sounds like, listen, over 3/4 of, I think it's way over, by the way, 3/4 of founders, entrepreneurs deal with some sort of mental health challenge. It's a very lonely, tough gig. But that said, there are professionals like Jason, coaches that can help you manage through this. On the positive side, conviction. All these founders have that conviction. On the negative side, what was the negative again? I'm reading.
Basically, if the stories they're telling themselves, they only have like one story. They only allow themselves to have like one kind of very, very tunnel vision story.
Yes.
And my job is to like open or expand that to say, well, what else could be? What other possibilities are out there that you might not have thought of?
I'll redo it. So on the positive, these founders often have the greatest conviction. They believe and they run hard at it. On the negative, they also have tunnel vision. And what coaches like Jason do is they help them expand that horizon. I think that this is a really important subject. I've got a ton of founder friends that struggle with all these things, and I think we have to take it to the next level by getting some help. Right? You can't do all of this alone.
All right. So life is hard. Really quick. LeBron James and Tiger Woods and Bill Gates, like all these people have like coaches, right? They have a team of people that are helping them.
Yes.
And it's like, so why is there this in society? It's like, there's this kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to talk about therapy or coaching, whatever. So again, trying to normalize this and say, look, we're all in this, life's fucking hard. Like it's not easy. Yeah. It's okay. Like talk to someone, get it out of your system. You talk to someone,
Yeah. You talk to look at any elite, was athletes or whatever it is. They've got a fitness person, a trainer, a chef, a nutritionist. It's like all these things, right? To get there. It's weird. I think that we don't think about it in all areas, but you're 100% right. Okay. So, first of all, thanks again for being here. This is my favorite part of the show. By the way, we'll be sending you a gift. So offline, you got to shoot me your address and details. Now it's time for the fit check. I'm going to go first. I'm wearing a pair of, hold on a second. All right. These are sort of low key. All right. But they're one of my favorite pairs of shoes because they're these Nike ACGs.
All right.
And they're Gore-Tex.
Yes,
they're perfect
for the winter.
For the Chicago winter. Everything is snowy, slushy, and you don't want to wear like your best kicks and have them wrecked, but you still want to wear something that's comfortable that you like. And I love these things. And the other day, they looked like I don't know what salt and mud. I took a cloth and wiped them up. They look brand new. Like this is one of the most.
They look new.
You know,
I mean, show them again. Let me see them again.
They look new, right?
They look new. They look like you just took them out of the box.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had these
brand
forever. The other thing I'll add is you can see a little bit of, and this will be a tee up for what I think you're going to show us. I love the influence. This is a Virgil Abloh influence here. The way that he used to sort of move the words down and up and into things. And I'm a gigantic Virgil Abloh fan. All right, what you got?
All right, man. Well, speaking of Virgil, I had to put these on for you, man, because I know you told me you like them. And I got the Off-White Jordan 1s here. Oh, yeah, looking nice. Favorite. Now, I don't wear these out, especially in the winter. I'm inside, obviously. So, but yeah, no, I got these. These are one of my favorites. It was quite a gift to get these, and I'm a big sneaker guy like you, so it's always fun to see like what other people have, and I just like the idea of now that like it's normalized in society, like everyone's wearing sneakers. Yeah. You could walk into like different like there's not this kind of like I'm afraid, like people are afraid, like should I wear sneakers? Like now it's like now everyone's wearing sneakers.
Yeah.
To me, I love it.
Even like 5 or 10 years ago, I feel like you couldn't do it. Like there'd be like certain places, like you go to the a nice place. They say, oh, you can't come in with those. You're like, Now it's almost expected.
Everyone, I mean, really, I don't even know. Like thinking of like the steakhouses in Chicago. Like if I went to Maple and Ash or like Masters, I probably could wear these. Not that I would, but like I probably could wear them to a steakhouse. No one's. I mean, I don't know. So sure. You're right. It's normalized.
So you've got that's my Grail favorite shoe that I've not been able to cop yet. It's on my list. Those are really cool, man. I'm jealous.
Thanks, man.
All right, thanks again for being on the show. By the way, anything you wanna talk about? Anything you want to plug? Whether it's your website or whatever.
If you want to contact me, you can hop onto my website. It's jkcoach.me. So jkcoach.me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jason Komosa, Komosa. And I'm always rooting for the Midwest, especially Chicago. So hit me up if you want to chat.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks again for being on the show. We'll chat soon.